Here in America, we certainly love our pickup trucks. Just take a look at the sales figures. Just last year, GM moved about 800,000 Silverado and Sierra twins in the US alone. Now, if you're going to do a comparison, Honda moved only about half as many Accords in that same time period. So, when you have a vehicle that's this competitive, you have to make steady updates to it over the years. And this week, GM has loaned me the latest version of the Silverado. This is a 2017 Silverado LTZ C71 equipped with a new Redline Edition appearance package. No, it has nothing to do with us, but it does include a lot of niceties to help your Silverado stand out from the crowd. So where does it stack up in this very competitive segment? That's what we're here to find out. When you're looking for a half-ton truck like this, oftentimes the three American players, the big three, come to mind. There's the Ford F-150, the GM twins, the Chevy Silverado, and GMC Sierra, and then of course the Ram 1500 half-ton truck. Now, in terms of sales, Ford has pretty much always led the pack, but GM's always been right on their tail, really just trailing the Ford by about 50 to 100,000 units every year. Now, Chevrolet has been building a full-size truck like this since 1975. However, we didn't see the actual Silverado name until 1999. Thus, we have this 2017 model, which is actually only in its third generation. If you guys remember, I showed you a 2014 Silverado when they first introduced this third generation back then, and I was rather impressed with the truck. Now, throughout the years, Chevy made a couple of updates to it. In fact, the most recent one I showed you before this one was the Sierra Denali, which I really loved with the Denali package. Now, in terms of the Silverado, this is actually the one that Chevy sells more of. They sell consistently about 500,000 units every year. And last year, Chevy made pretty extensive updates that kind of addressed my criticisms of the 2014 model that I had. You can see the front end sports a revised look with full LED headlights on my LTZ Z71 tester. You're going to get these headlights standard on the LTZ and up trim levels, which are nice. The old 14 model that I showed you only had projector halogens, which again I complained about. They're also complemented by these attractive LED daytime running lights. You have LED turn signals and LED fog lights. It certainly gives the Silverado a much more high-end, premium, modern appearance that the old halogen projectors just didn't really deliver. Now, the front end, of course, has the traditional Chevy design elements. You have the bow tie logo in the center. It's blacked out because of my Redline Edition package. You have the two-tier grille, the split headlights. I mean, it's a very aggressive, masculine-looking truck that's certainly going to appeal to a lot of the traditional buyers in this segment. Now, the Silverado is available in several different configurations in going with the traditional full-size truck theme. Chevy offers 8 different trims and like 9 different special edition models. This Redline package is one of them, which is also new for 2017. It gives you these black 20-inch wheels with the red stripe. They certainly look very attractive. The Redline package is only available in this silver ice metallic from when I was trying to build this truck. So it's a nice contrast with the black, the red, the silver. It's a really handsome, masculine looking truck that really appeals to a lot of people who are, typically looking in this segment. Now, this particular one I'm showing you is the crew cab model. It's the biggest cab configuration. You can take your pick between like a regular cab or an extended cab, which is kind of like a half-size rear door that opens the same direction as this crew cab, or the full crew cab, which gives you the most space. My tester also has the short bed. This is the 5'8" bed. You can also get a 6.5-foot bed, a longer bed if you want it. There's also an 8-foot bed available if you guys go for the smaller cab configurations. Now, this is one big truck. It's funny to me because this is the short bed model, and it has only the 5'8" long bed, and it looks like the long bed to me. It's got a very long wheelbase. It extends about 230 inches long, about 140-inch long wheelbase. This is a huge vehicle, so if you don't like driving big trucks, this is definitely going to take some getting used to if you guys are used to driving a small car like a Chevrolet Spark or something like that. Now, out back, you have revised LED taillights on my tester, which certainly look more attractive than the older taillights. I like the big exhaust tip, the single tip that Chevy gives you. And this particular one that I'm showing you, it has the optional 6.2 liter V8 for like $2,500. It's certainly a worthy upgrade. It comes paired with the 8-speed automatic, and you're dealing with like 420 horsepower. So this is a pretty powerful truck, and it certainly looks really great, especially with this Redline appearance package. So I think Chevy's done a really good job with the exterior styling. But enough about the outside. Let's take a look at the inside and see some of the changes that Chevy has made throughout the years. When you first approach your new Silverado, you're going to notice Smart Key access system with push button start is not available. You still have a pretty old school key, and I'm kind of thinking GM really needs to offer a push button start with Smart Key access key. Luckily, the company does include remote start. This honestly looks like the newer key fob that actually is a Smart Key system. But to activate the remote start, just push the lock button, push and hold this button until it blinks. And then the vehicle starts right up to you. To shut the engine off, just push this button again, and that'll shut off the engine for you. It's a really nice feature to have, especially when it's 100 degrees outside like today. Now to unlock the door, you know, it's an old key. You can use the key, obviously, or you can just push the lock button here, and then that unlocks the door for you. Now, looking at the interior of this 2017 Silverado, it hasn't really changed too much versus the 2014 model that I showed you. In fact, it's very similar to the Sierra Denali that I had, aside from a couple of different trim pieces. My tester has perforated leather bucket seats. They are heated and cooled, which is really nice. I like the contrasting gray stitching on the seats and the steering wheel. But you know, this is a pretty high vehicle. Luckily, the Redline Edition model gives you these nice steps that kind of help you get into the vehicle. Surprisingly, there's no grab handle here to help you get in, so you kind of have to hold on to the steering wheel if you're short like myself. But getting inside, once you're settled in, you have a very nice high commanding view of the road. You kind of expect that, you know, in this vehicle class. But when you shut the door sounds pretty solid. I wasn't really expecting anything less. This is still a pretty new truck. Now, again, no push button start. You have to go to the Nissan Titan or the Ford F-Series or the Ram to get the push button start. GM just doesn't offer it yet, so stick the key in the ignition and then start it up like a traditional car. And of course, my tester has the optional 6.2 liter V8. This is the big boy small block. It makes 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. It's very similar to the motor in the Corvette, actually, if I want to say. It's a very, you know, nice, manly, masculine engine. Makes really nice noises, especially if you guys aren't, you know, fans of the EcoBoost engines that Ford is going with. Now, when you look at the interior, you can see it's still a pretty nice interior. This high-trim LTZ Z71 obviously gives you, you know, soft-touch dash materials with the stitching here. It's basically throughout the dash. It's really nice. It's even soft-touch on this, you know, glove compartment door. The door panels here are also soft touch. You have memory seats. You have leather padding right here where your elbows are going to rest. There's some storage right there. The window is one touch automatic for the driver's side, for the passenger side as well. It's one touch up, down, and for the rear, so it's actually one touch for all four. That's really nice that GM included that. The mirrors also, they electrically fold in if you guys push this little button right here, which is definitely nice because this is a pretty big vehicle. Now, looking at the steering wheel, you can see it's, you know, it hasn't really changed. It's a really big diameter steering wheel. I like that it's a 4-spoke design because you can kind of put your hand right here while you drive. I tend to do that a lot when I'm driving. The instrument panel gauges, they're pretty similar to what you get in the Sierra, aside from the fact that these have the green backlight color. I prefer the Sierra's red backlit color, so that's another reason why you may choose the GM model or the GMC model. The center stack here has some silver painted plastic trim. The Sierra Denali I showed you had some real aluminum, so that's another upgrade that you get with by going with the GMC. But you have, you know, dual zone automatic climate control. You have heated and cooled seats, of course, part of my high trim tester. And I like the fact that there are lots of knobs here. Knob for radio, for tuning, for your climate control. All these secondary buttons here control, you know, your power adjustable pedals, your stability control off switch. This vehicle now has active lane keep assist, which is also new, I believe, since last year, along with the front and rear parking sensors, and then that's the LED dome light in the truck bed. This screen does not slide down for some reason, although Chevy still gives you a CD, you know, player if you guys have to have that feature. New last year was Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. When you plug your phone in, obviously you have the full integration here with my iPhone, which is really nice to have. This will read text out loud to you. It'll actually, you know, you can basically use Siri. You can put up, you know, Apple Maps if you want to, if you don't want to use the Chevy map system this particular one gives you. Going to the home home screen here, this is the latest version of Chevrolet MyLink. The touch response has definitely been updated. My tester has the optional in-car navigation system for like $500. It's kind of worth it. I like the fact that it works kind of like a tablet. You see you can zoom out and zoom in by pinching and swiping. It's pretty responsive. Chevy's been doing a good job with updating this throughout the years. It doesn't have the proximity sensor like the Cadillac Q, so when these icons go away, you have to actually tap the screen to get it to come back. Now going to your audio system here, the interface is pretty easy to use. You can see all your presets are down here. They're pretty easy to set as well, just kind of tap and then hold when you're ready to set an actual preset. It doesn't really show, the buttons can be a little bit small and the screen's gotten a little bit small. This is like, I believe, a 7 or 8 inch screen. It looks pretty small, honestly, in this big dash. So I think GM needs to work on upping the size of this screen. Now, when you put the vehicle into reverse, you get a backup camera, obviously. It has trajectory. It has front and rear parking sensors, which is nice. There's no 360 camera, though. I think this truck could definitely use it. It is a big vehicle. Another feature it could also use is blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. Instead, you just get that little blind spot mirror, and then that's for your actual turn signal. I'm surprised this is such a huge vehicle, and Chevy didn't include blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. Now, one thing I've always appreciated about this truck is all the storage here. You can see you have, all your different power outlets there. There's an actual, household outlet there. There's 2 USB ports there. Then you have this huge storage area here that can literally, you can store pretty much lots of stuff. Big cup holders here. This is a wireless charging pad that's optional. This was new last year. If your phone's compatible, just place your phone on there. You can actually just charge your phone. This center console is huge. You can literally put a laptop computer. There's 2 more USB ports there. Another power outlet right here, it looks like. So, I mean, there's plenty of storage, options here. It's one of the reasons why these excel so much as family vehicles. My tester also has an optional $900 sunroof. It's not the big, twin panel roof that you can get on the F-150 for like $1,400, but it's nice. I like the fact that GM offers a sunroof. That's something that Titan doesn't really offer on some of the trims that I've tested. The seats are pretty comfortable. They're wide, they're supportive. Love the heated and cooled function, so I found them to be great on long trips. Love the glove compartment here with the 2-tier storage. Again, it kind of gives you even additional storage that this truck already pretty much has. But I mean, overall, the interior, while it is a little bit dark, I prefer the aesthetics that you get with the Sierra Denali. This is still a really nice place to spend time, and it certainly, looks like a high trim car. The days of the cheap interiors that GM used to put on their trucks are pretty much over. My tester is the full crew cab model, so you have the most space in the rear seats, and you can see here there's plentiful amounts of room for 3 people across because this vehicle is so wide. And getting in the vehicle here, there's another step right here to help the short people like myself get in, and there's actually a handle here to help you get in as well, so that's nice to have. But once you step in back here, you can see there's a crap ton of space. Lots of foot room underneath there, lots of leg room. The floor here isn't flat, but you can easily fit 3 people across because this is so incredibly wide. Now when you shut the door, it sounds pretty much like the front. The materials back here are hard touch plastic, not soft like the front, but you do have a slightly padded area there where your elbows are going to rest. Now, one thing I'm noticing that's missing are no rear seat vents, not on the pillar there or not on the center console. That's a little disappointing. Especially considering I have the high trim model. There is, 1 power outlet there, but there's no USB ports in the back, so keep that in mind for the rear seat passengers. They jip you a little bit there. This armrest right here folds down. There's some cup holders there. Not really any more storage. And then the seat backs themselves, this area flips up to kind of reveal like more flat space if you guys need to actually put something in the cab as opposed to outside in the bed. Looking at the bed of the latest Silverado, you can see my tester has a spray-in bed liner that you get with the Redline package, which is nice. I highly recommend going for a spray-in if you guys get a truck like this, just to protect the bed. I also like the bed, like the fact that the bed is hydraulically assisted so it doesn't slam. That's really nice. And you can see here the bed is large. This is the short bed, honestly, and it pretty much has lots of room. I don't know why you would need the 6.5 foot bed. That would make this vehicle roughly about 10 inches longer in the wheelbase and the overall length, but it's a very usable bed. My tester doesn't really have any extras, like there's no tonneau cover here, there's no bed extender, and unlike the Ford, which kind of gives you the tailgate step, Chevy doesn't do that. Instead, they kind of build in this little area here where you can kind of help yourself get in and out for the, the short vertically challenged people like myself. But I mean, overall, the bed is very useful. I like how it's very wide, and then the wheel wells don't intrude too much. Chevy, by the way, says that you can put about 2,200 pounds of weight in the bed. That's around the payload capacity of this vehicle, which is plentiful. This is one useful truck if you guys actually do plan to do some hauling in it. Underneath the hood of the 2017 Silverado, you have the biggest engine available. This is the 6.2 liter pushrod direct injection V8 with cylinder deactivation. This motor is essentially, you know, a detuned version of the motor you find in the Corvette. And in this application, it makes 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. It all goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, this motor is about a $2,500 upgrade. If you don't go for this motor, you have the smaller 5.3 V8 with like 355 horsepower, and you can take it between a 6 or an 8-speed automatic. The base engine is a 4.3 liter V6, which I haven't actually had a chance to drive that motor yet. Now, this motor is paired excellent with this truck. I mean, it combined, it can tow about 12,500 pounds if you get a rear drive model or a two-wheel drive model. Chevy says that's best in class. This four-wheel drive model tows about 11,700 pounds, which is still nothing to sneeze at. This is a lot of capability, probably more than what most of us are probably going to need. Now, this truck weighs around 5,300 pounds, and fuel economy definitely is on par with the class. It's rated at 1520. 1 mpg if you guys go for a two-wheel drive model. Really only the Ford F-150 EcoBoost, the 3.5 EcoBoost tops that, which gets like 1723, which I haven't had a chance to drive yet. But in this application, you know, with 420 horsepower and 8-speed automatic four-wheel drive, let's get out on the road and see how it all works, shall we? Over the years, GM has certainly loaned me several versions of this truck. This 2017 Silverado Redline Edition is the third model that I've tested for you guys. So I'm pretty familiar with how this generation of Silverado and Sierra drives. I first experienced the 6.2 with the 8-speed auto in an Escalade, which I came away pretty impressed. Loved it in the Sierra Denali, loved the styling of the Sierra and the interior. But, you know, this is the Silverado Redline Edition. I love the, you know, the different styling elements that Chevy did with the Redline package. So let's get out on the road and see how it performs out on, you know, some back roads here. Now, with 420 horsepower on tap, this is a seriously quick truck, and I had it just in two-wheel drive mode there, and it has enough power to spin out the rear wheels when you don't have it in the automatic setting where it will automatically send power to the front if it needs to. Now, this particular one also has a real low range, so you can take this thing off-roading. It has like 9 inches of ground clearance, and you know, this truck is surprisingly agile considering how big it is. I really have always loved the way these drove. I love the, you know, seating position you get. The view from the driver's side is just imposing. You just have, you know, this big hood that's kind of right there, big side mirrors so you can see out of the sides pretty well. And you know, it is a very large truck. It's very wide. This thing's like 80 inches wide. So on a, you know, narrow road like this, if you guys aren't comfortable driving a big truck like this, you're going to be a little bit intimidated. But once you do kind of get it down the road, it's really easy to manage this thing. It's got plenty of power, the seats are comfortable, the brake pedal has good pressure, and they feel pretty strong. You just kind of have to put your foot down a little bit hard because this is a heavy vehicle. But the one thing that really surprised me is the ride quality of this truck. It's relatively smooth. I mean, I've been driving it primarily with it unloaded, so that's kind of where it's going to be a little bit more jittery versus if you have more stuff in the bed. But it's a really nice and easy car or truck to drive, honestly. And it shocks me how fast this V8 revs for such a big boy. I mean, this truck should get to 60 in around just under 6 seconds, like 5.9 is the quickest I've seen it. And it feels every bit as fast. I mean, what's interesting is this engine has so much torque, low-end torque. I mean, you don't really have to rev it to get it going, but it will pull all the way up to like, there's no red line on the tach, but it shifts at like 5,800 RPM. So it's impressive that this big V8 will rev so quickly. The shifts from the 8-speed automatic are crisp. And it just feels fast. This thing, you know, can tow almost 12,000 pounds in this four-wheel drive version, and it feels like it definitely could. This truck really will surprise you, especially if you're just trying to cut someone off, pass somebody at the light, or when you're trying to merge. This is one seriously quick truck. Now, the steering in trucks aren't necessarily a high point, but it's, you know, it'll get the job done. This is an electric power steering assist. It's pretty slow in the way it changes directions, but you know, obviously this is a truck. You're not going to be attacking back roads like this when you're in a truck, but it's very secure, it's stable, and really it'll hold its own when you start hustling it when it's unloaded like this. It's not bad. It's amazing how trucks have gotten so much better in on-road dynamics over the years. And my tester, with, you know, some driver assistance tech that they've added, it now has low-speed emergency automatic braking. It has automatic high beams, and it has active lane keep assist, which the old pre-refresh model didn't have, where before it would just beep at you, it would be passive. This one will actually kind of steer you into the lane, which is nice, but I'm surprised that GM didn't include adaptive cruise control. They didn't include, push button start. They didn't include blind spot monitoring or cross traffic alert. I mean, those are features that especially the latter, that this truck could really use. So it's a little disappointing to see that GM hasn't included that yet. I imagine the company is probably planning to add it in the next couple of years. Maybe even you may have to even wait for the full redesign model, which is still a few years away. But I mean, overall, as a family vehicle, I mean, this really excels as a luxury truck. It's very spacious in here. There's plenty of space, plenty of storage solutions. I mean, this is why people buy these, as they're all in one vehicle. I mean, you can tow, you can put shit in the bed, you can literally, put the family in here. There's plenty of room for 4 or 5 people in the cab. And you can also put all this stuff in the back, which I would probably recommend getting a tonneau cover, so you can protect your stuff from the elements if you guys, consistently, put stuff in the bed that can't get wet. And one thing I really appreciate about the Silverado and Sierra twins is that small block V8. It just sounds really great when you push it. Listen to that noise it makes. Oh, with an exhaust, this truck would make some seriously nice noises. It just has that lovely V8 pull. And again, it's one of the reasons why you may choose this over the Ford F-150, because, I mean, as good as the EcoBoost is, which I haven't driven the 10-speed auto combination EcoBoost 3.5, this is one seriously nice-sounding V8. And it's definitely going to appeal to the purists, to the more traditional truck buyers who must have a V8. As much as I love, a twin turbo 6, there's something about a V8 that just sounds impeccable. But let's talk a little about the fuel economy, because this MPG is pretty much on par with the class, 15, 20. I've only been averaging about 13 miles per gallon in mostly city driving. Now, out on the highway, I did push it up to about 18, 19 miles per gallon. I imagine if you're a little bit more conservative, you could probably hit that 20. Especially when the cylinder deactivation kicks in, because this will run on 4 cylinders, which I also found it to be pretty imperceptible. I didn't even notice it when it switched back and forth. Now, I haven't had a chance to test the new Ford EcoBoost, but the Ford is rated to get like 3 mpg higher than this. So, if you guys can keep your right foot intact, these pickup trucks can get pretty good gas miles. Now, let's talk a little about the price, because the Silverado's pricing starts at just under $28,000 for a regular, work truck model, regular cab work truck model that's like literally bare bones. From there on, there's so many different ways you can customize these trucks. My tester being an LTZ Z71. The Z71 package is like $2,500, by the way, which kind of gives you the off-road suspension, off-road, wheels and tires. This truck starts at around $50,000, just under 50,000, like 49 grand. My tester has about $9,000 to $10,000 worth of options on it, which certainly make it expensive. I mean, the Redline package is like $2,200. I probably would just pick it because it looks really nice. The 6.2 V8, that's like $2,500. If you don't need the extra power, you could go with the 5.3. It's honestly enough power for most. It's about a second slower to 60. Tongue twister there. Trying to get it up to speed, but trucks aren't about drag racing anyways. My tester also has the LTZ Plus package that gives you a heated steering wheel, Bose audio. That's like $700. The driver awareness package that gives you all the driver assistance stuff, the lane keep, the automatic braking, that's like $900. $900 for the sunroof, and then you also have to pay extra for the heated and cooled seats that my tester has. All in, my tester is around $59,000. A lot of money, but it's actually a little bit cheaper than a fully loaded F-150 that's comparably equipped. I would never get tired of doing those little quick burnouts. This thing is pretty quick. But anyways, how does it stack up in this segment full of competitors? Really, I think the Silverado has a lot of strengths to it. Compared to the Ford, it's a little bit cheaper. I like the styling of the Silverado, the refreshed one, a little bit more than the Ford. The interior of the Ford may be a little bit better. I like some of the updated features of the Ford offers. But, it's definitely still very competitive in this segment. Personally, I prefer the aesthetics probably of the Sierra Denali, which is basically the same truck, a little bit more money than this. So really, it's up to whether or not you are a Chevy guy, you're a Ford guy, you're a Dodge guy, honestly, or a Ram guy. There are so many different, ways you can customize this truck, but I can definitely say that the Redline edition certainly makes the Silverado a little bit more unique. Helps it stand out when there's so many of these trucks out on the road. But hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2017 Silverado LTZ Redline edition. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.